Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Automotive JT. Have you ever considered maybe have a deep yearning to buy a Jeep, maybe the Jeep Gladiator, but didn't do it because you keep hearing all of these negative reports, these talking heads that sit behind desks, write one story, who may or may not have loyalty to some other product, who may or may not be being paid by a competitor, puts out a review and dogs the Jeep Gladiator. Well, I'm here to give you a real perspective, an owner's perspective. I've had Jeeps in the past, Wranglers. We currently own a Jeep Wrangler. It's my wife's 2018. I've had Jeep Gladiators. I'm on one, or in one rather, right now. This is my third. So I have a lot of experience with the Jeep product, regardless of who the company is that owns them right now. So I'm going to run through, let you know my experiences with the Jeep. Now I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to go back to a Jeep Wrangler Sport that I had. This is about 300 years ago. It was blue and it was awesome. I loved that Jeep except for one thing, and this is the only thing really I think that you have to be concerned with the Jeep Wrangler. I was driving down the freeway one morning. I was on my way to work. It was a rainy day. It was at that point where it had rained earlier. It stopped. The sun was coming up. Parts of the pavement were drying off, right? And it was a freeway, 65 mile an hour. I was probably going 70. I don't know, maybe a little faster. I don't know. I was in the fast lane. And it was a curvy road. It was rush hour. And in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I lived at the time, it was very busy at rush hour on this particular freeway. So there was a curve, and it's a blind curve. You're coming around. It's a big sweeping curve, but it kind of goes around and goes down. You can't see the other side. So traffic had broken out a little bit, as it does in rush hour. And I'm moving, man. And I get to that curve, and I'm going around, and I'm at the top, just about where I can see going down, and traffic has stopped. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I stop on the brakes all as I'm turning, right? That was a mistake. I started to slide because I hit one of those parts of the pavement that was still wet. So I started to do a little fishtail action. Well, as I pulled back to go the other way, I actually went up on two wheels. The Jeep actually went like that, and then boom. So when it went back down, of course my head, everything is going every which way. I slammed my head on the roll bar. It has a roll bar right on the side. Mine wasn't even covered in that. It was a cheaper Jeep, right? It wasn't even covered. I slammed my head pretty darn hard. I mean, it hurt. That was my only bad experience. So if I have anything to say about the Jeep from a negative perspective, it's that it does have a higher center of gravity, and if you do something wrong, like slide and then turn the wheel, you might have a problem. So just something to be a little bit aware of. From that point on, I was a little shy about taking turns too quick in that Gladiator or that Wrangler during rainy times at least. Otherwise, I never had any issues with that Jeep. Had another one or two in between, same thing with those. Now, let's fast forward to the most recent Wrangler. We're going to get to the Gladiator in just a second. But the most recent Wrangler that we've had, and that is a 2018. It's a Sport as well. It's a six-cylinder, naturally aspirated, no turbo. The thing is a blast to drive. I mean, it's like lightning. There's no weight in the Jeep Wrangler, right? I mean, it's all open. So it moves, it's a blast, and we've had no issues with it. None whatsoever. A 2018, that's 5 model years old now. Not under warranty anymore either, by the way, so fingers crossed. But no issues with it at all, except for one little hiccup, and this is common, I think, in every Jeep. I've experienced it, I think, in every Jeep that I've had, and that is the black screen radio. You're going to get a black screen at some point. I think it's a function of updates. I think that it's doing an over-air update and it has to reboot, if you will. I mean, it basically is a computer anyway, right? That's the only thing, nothing else. Fuel economy-wise, I'll throw that in real quick on the Wranglers, not great. Better than the Gladiator, but not great. So let's move to current times. 3 Gladiators that I've had, 2 Sports, Sport S's, I think, if I recall, and the Jeep Gladiator Mojave that we're in right now. The first Gladiator that I had, which by the way was the first model year, never buy the first model year, they say, check engine light, auto stop problem, talked about that at length in other videos, so I'm not going to get into details. Very annoying. Did not like that. It's the reason that I traded it off and went to another Sport S. Same model year. The only difference between the two really was one had the tow package and one didn't. In that one, I had no issues. No check engine lights, no auto stop problems, no issues at all. Matter of fact, my mother has that one right now and it continues to be perfect. No issues with it. Let's talk about the Jeep Gladiator that I'm in now. It's a Mojave. It's a 2021. Doesn't have a ton of miles on it because I have two other vehicles that I split time driving with. Plus, I just don't have to drive a whole lot anymore. Unfortunately, I do like driving. But it's got 3,303 miles on it right now. Painfully low for a 2021. I mean, it's 2 model years old, right? But nonetheless, that's what it has. No issues with this one whatsoever. And you might say, well, I hope not. It's only got 3,000 miles on it. That's when I had problems with the first Gladiator that I had. It was within the first probably 1,000, maybe 2,000 miles. So I think most times if you're going to experience issues with a vehicle, it's either going to be right away when it's new or later on in its lifespan. You know, that middle point is like the honeymoon phase, right? You're not going to have any issues with it in between. So all of them have been, except for the one Gladiator, have been awesome. 1 out of about 8 probably, something like that, maybe 10. Not too bad. Although, really, it should be 0 out of 10, but that's the way it is. Show me any vehicle where 1 out of 10 of them doesn't have some little or some kind of an issue. I doubt you're going to be able to find it. I highly recommend them. I think they get a bad rap unfairly. I really think a lot of the times that Jeep gets a bad rap is the owner's fault. I think the owner does things to it either in the form of electrical mods or runs them into conditions that they really weren't built for. For instance, I don't know if you guys heard, but a couple years ago, some guy took his out, submerged it in a mud hole. I mean, water was up above the doors, right? And then he tried to sue, I believe he tried to sue Jeep because there were problems with it. I think it actually something to do with electrical or something, I don't remember, which would make sense, right? Water everywhere. That was his fault. I mean, it's not a submarine, right? They didn't design it to take it out and submerge it in water. Yeah, it should be able to perform off-road in mud puddles and stuff, but a mud pit that goes all the way up to the doors is not a puddle. That was his fault. Anyway, I just wanted to get on. If you're out there and you really are jonesing for a Jeep or a Jeep Gladiator, Wrangler, whatever it is, don't let the negative nannies hold you back. They're probably negative for a reason. Like money, who knows? Leave a comment, let me know if that applies to you. You want a Jeep, but you're just not getting one because you're afraid of it? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the Toyota Tacoma, and an awesome truck. And Mod Driven, all about the Honda Civic, an awesome car. Love that car. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.